If you did in cybersecurity, if you did today the same things you were doing 5 years ago, then you're behind. Now we're like, dude, if you were doing the same thing you did last week, you're behind.
Help me with hip hop. Let's get it right. Protect your patience. Day and night. Donna and David, the experts on your side. Help me with hip hop. Let's get it right.
In this episode, we're going to be talking about all kind of craziness, things that make you go, or WTF, or I don't even know what.
WTAF.
Yeah.
You know, it just.
It's my favorite radio station. WTAF.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a joke. Well, I'd probably get in trouble with the FCC by telling that one.
Well, we'll start with because we have so many, we have to put some into next week's episode. So
I know. I just quit.
we can't cover them all, but trust me, next week will be just as jaw dropping as this week. But we'll start with something that's a little easier. If you are a user or customer of SentinelOne, there is a service disruption that happened back on May 29th. And I remember when this happened a few weeks ago, and I was like, oh, Lordy, I hope they haven't had some type of cyber incident. And so they come out with a root cause analysis of what happened. And they are saying that it was a quote unquote software flaw in an infrastructure control system that removed critical network routes, causing widespread loss of network connectivity within their platform.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's interesting. Like something glitched, as you love to hear.
I hate that word.
Something glitched. But it sounds like something, I mean, when it says a control system removed stuff, that's like, okay, it deleted things.
Yeah. I don't know. They probably replaced some piece and the configuration or something happened to like the part that lets all of the endpoints talk to the control panel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Two different kinds of software. There's a middle piece, and it sounds like the middle piece had a problem.
Yeah.
Which I'm like you, immediately I think of, oh no, the CrowdStrike issue, what's happening on the endpoints. And at least it wasn't anything like that as far as the endpoints, but still another software issue.
Yeah.
Which is good. It's better
right. It's
than
better
an
than
attack.
it's better than a cyber attack. And they're saying that there was no compromise of the protections that were in place. Just because they went down, the systems and everything still remained protected, which is what you would expect, is what I would expect.
Mm-hmm.
And CrowdStrike could essentially say the same thing, because if your system won't boot, it can't be hacked. So but anyway, that's where they're saying this was. However, it does bring up an interesting point that we always talk about, which is how are you going to function when certain critical systems are not operational?
Yes. And that is something I don't think enough people stop and think about when, IT takes care of that. Okay. Well, what if IT can't get to all the devices and you got to have boots on the ground?
Mm-hmm.
Which is what happened, in a lot of ways with CrowdStrike. And so there's a lot of areas, and that's like a central point of failure, which drives me nuts. I know where my central point of failure is, and it just drives me nuts.
Yeah. Well, this is another reason. Now, again, they didn't have any lapse of security, but this is also another reason why I like redundancy and overlap with some of our security tools, even though they don't fully overlap. It's like they overlap enough to where if one went out, I don't feel terribly exposed.
Well, we don't want you exposed, David.
No, we don't. We don't want that for sure. So there you have it. If you are a user of SentinelOne, and maybe you don't know, maybe you have to reach out to IT or your MSP to find out if you're that interested. You may not be interested at all. But if something came up and you're wondering, was my MSP telling me the truth on May 29th? There you have it. Yes, they did have a disruption.
Yes.
And seems to not be that big of a deal on the security front, though probably a bigger deal on the infrastructure front that they got resolved.
Yeah. Certainly worth a conversation
Yeah.
to say to
Now,
your IT, whoever's in charge, hey, what is the plan if you lose control of all of the cars on the road or the road?
you lose control of the road.
I can't control what vehicles are allowed on. Everybody can get on,
Yeah.
or there is no road. Anyway,
Well, the terrible part of that is if something were to have happened, like you were being attacked at the time this was happening, then IT could not respond in the typical way. And they may
that
not
is
even had
correct.
any visibility even into what was going on. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's what? How long was the outage? I didn't
Um
ever see the final
yeah, I don't
number.
remember the number of hours. It just says May 29th, but I don't recall it lasting multiple
A
days.
day. Yeah.
So
All right. Well, let's move on to the more fun stuff, David.
yeah, yeah. So as would always happen, people will take anything that's for good and use it for evil. And we talked about this way back when AI was fairly new and everybody was trying to figure out a lot of stuff about it. We talked about how it's going to be used for malicious intent. And people were trying to do that with things like ChatGPT and some of the other, shall we say, commercial versions of AI. Well, there are also versions of AI on the dark web that you can purchase for just a low monthly rate of $18. You too can get your hands on an uncensored private version of a very criminally enterprising chat that can allow you to create all sorts of mayhem and mischief. So yes, there you have it.
Venice.ai.
Yeah,
So,
don't go there.
no. Yeah, I made sure I didn't let it show up as a URL either. So it's you get a subscription, and as they point out, it's an uncensored private tool, which is great for criminals. Because like if you use ChatGPT, it will say, I can't do that. And there's things that we push it to the point of getting it to say that, to see where that line is on some things, but not writing phishing emails. So you can easily, though, sign up for these ransomware as a service or whatever, be trying to get them to click a link for that. Usually you're wanting to get them to click a link to share your credentials or a credit card. So this article is from Certo, and their testers, they confirmed it. They went in and said, write me a phishing email and write me some malicious code. And boy, did it.
Yeah.
And the testers said they were concerned with how well it was crafted and looked like a real one. So, I mean, this thing is like nothing to load, no code required, no skill, just desire to make some money and run a scam. And who doesn't have that,
Yeah.
But what was interesting is they mentioned another group, another article on /next that also tested an AI tool. Now, this is one that you had to get from the dark web. It was on a forum. A lot of people are using it, and it's called Worm GPT, which Venice.ai sounds very friendly. Worm GPT is telling you right up front, I ain't doing this for giggles. The article, though, they were experimenting with it, and they instructed it to generate an email intended to pressure an unsuspected account manager into paying a fraudulent invoice. Now, this is one of the favorite things to do because you get money and you get a credit card, or you get money quick. And they said the results were unsettling.
Which means they were good in a bad way.
Yes. Unsettling. Worm GPT produced an email that was not only remarkably persuasive, but also strategically cunning, showcasing its potential for sophisticated phishing and BEC attacks.
So, Donna, do you mean I can no longer rely on bad spelling and phishing attacks?
No. And it almost makes me think, all the phishing tests that are done, they need to use these tools to write the phishing test.
Well, I mean, why not? Because if you're being attacked by this, then why not use the same level of sophistication in your training?
Yeah, but reading all of that, I'm like, unsettled is not how I feel. it's not touching it at all. It's very uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to get harder and harder. It already has. Protection in and of itself, defending is getting increasingly harder, not just by the year, not even by the month. It's like by the day at this point.
I know.
I mean,
and at the same time, you're not going to put the computer down.
No, you're not. I mean, it's funny because, we always say, if you did in cybersecurity, if you did today the same things you were doing 5 years ago, then you're behind. Now we're like, dude, if you were doing the same thing you did last week, you're behind.
I mean, definitely last year.
Yeah.
Because, and AI hadn't really taken hold from a cybersecurity perspective.
No.
And now, I remember we read a report last year that said it didn't look like the criminals were really in there yet, like we were all worried about. And it was kind of like somebody drew a line in the sand and said, cross that line, because they immediately did. And no, it's bad. It's bad.
Yeah. Well, on the other side of it, this is not part of our news article here, but on the other side of it, I am seeing some of these very cool capabilities around AI that's being integrated into some of these platforms like CrowdStrike and SentinelOne. They're able to identify and respond to things much faster than they used to. So it's not that from a defense side, we're not using AI or we're not able to leverage it to the same degree. We just don't talk about that side as much as we talk about the threats. Okay, as we talk about AI, let's see what Microsoft, I know, let's talk about Microsoft. We just had the conversation about recall and all that, but let's talk about something else that Microsoft thinks is a good idea.
I remember reading it and sending it to you. Nothing can go wrong with this.
Yep. So they have unveiled a new AI agent that can modify Windows settings. And so here's the concept. They're saying this is going to be wonderful because we can just have AI change settings for us just by asking, and it's going to be so, take care of time-consuming tasks, and we don't know where to go find the setting. And we can just say, hey, Copilot, can you go and change this setting for me? And it'll just do it for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, and they're looking at, putting it in apps, but we all know as you earlier mentioned, if it can be used for good.
Yep. It can be used for bad.
Yeah. The evil will take over. And it's great, change X to ABC. So but number one, sometimes I'm glad users can't find things.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want them to.
No, I don't. And it's already a challenge enough for change management to happen.
Yeah.
People change things all the time. We just had a call this morning from a client, and it's the ones I always love. It's the, why do you keep blocking me from doing this thing? I love it because in this particular case, like as in many of them, my response to them is, because the file you're trying to run has failed 42 different malware scans. That's why we will not approve what you're trying to do.
And they're like, no way.
No, but I Googled it and downloaded the proper file. No, you Googled it but you did not download the proper file. You
See,
clicked on an ad.
there's,
Welcome
and
to
that's just like
malvertising.
this. Yeah, this is, and this though, you can take it even further. We hear it all the time. I see it all the time. I was just running down the hall to go to the bathroom. I just ran down the hall to ask somebody something. I just this, so I didn't log off, and we don't have our log off settings quick, and we don't have anything that's picks up when we walk away. So now somebody can just walk by and use the keyboard or voice,
Mm-hmm.
and oh, there's a computer. I do when I do physical walkthroughs. I see them all the time. Where I could just walk up and tell it, hey, Windows, do this, and then walk away, and no one would even know. Is it being logged? Where's it going?
Mm-hmm.
And if it is being logged, how are these small entities going to figure that out? It's like so many levels over reasonable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
My thing is, how can it be exploited? Because it will be exploited, but how can it be exploited?
Yeah, and that's what we have to figure out is how can things go wrong with it? That's our job. It
Yeah.
sounds great. It sounds awesome. And that's what always happens.
Here's
These
the
are
one
great ideas.
the one thing I'm scared of. Copilot, please turn on remote desktop protocol. Oh no.
No, 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 no.
But yeah, the guardrails around it need to be good. So there's that. Anything else before we get to the next bang your head against the wall topic?
Oh no, that's made me say enough. Let's see what else will make me say
All right. So in some more exciting AI news, there is now a program that is underway, and they're looking at the feasibility of this. So it's in beta, really. But they're going to allow clinicians to be able to chat with medical records. And the name of this thing is called Chat EHR, or as I like to call it, Chatter. But
it sounds great.
It
Sounds
does.
awesome.
It does, kind of, not really.
Well, I mean, if you've ever, had Chat GPT or any of the others where you can have a conversation with it and you're just talking to it, it is great. And so imagining a clinician able to say, when did we last see them for this issue and what medications were they given, and it could go look them up and they don't have to go find them. Same concept as the Windows thing. I don't want to have to go find them. However, it makes mistakes and it lies.
It sure does. I had a instance just last week. I think weekly I catch something that is done wrong. But usually, Donna, you tell me what your experience is. In my experience, usually when I catch it, I'll say, this is wrong. And it'll say something to the effect of, oh, my mistake. I'm glad you caught that. And then it gives you the right answer. That's usually been my experience. But weird thing happened last week. I caught it and I said, it gave me a number. It was based on like a fine amount within an article. And I was like, where did you get this number from? And it basically said, if I use that number, and I'm like, what do you mean? If you used it, it's the next line up. How can you say you didn't use it? And so it was basically like arguing with me that it didn't even do it.
Yeah. I mean, I've had it where I've like, tell me the exact language about blah, 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 blah in this article. And it'd be like, that's not in there. It's in there. I am absolutely certain it's in there. I gave you the knowledge base. Nope. It's not in there. It's not in there. It's not, it just would not. I even told it where it was. It's on page 20, line, blah, blah, blah. Nope. It's not in there.
I know.
I was like, so having had those experiences, and then I read in this article, it was a featured quote in the article, where they make them big.
Hmm.
Get it. And it said, making the electronic medical record more user friendly means physicians can spend less time scouring every nook and cranny of it for the information they need.
No, I don't agree with that.
Well, I get it from a positive side, but we also have had this experience that we just talked about where we know it was telling us the wrong information
Yeah.
and arguing with us.
So here's the thing though, if it's giving you information and then let's say the organization says you can use it, but you need to verify the information is accurate. Well, if you've got to do that, you're not saving any time because now you've got to verify everything that somebody gave you, which could be completely wrong. And so now you're
And how do
spending
you
more
verify
time.
the negative? How do you verify the negative? It's not in there.
I know. Like, can you verify it's not in there? Yeah, I have to read through the whole record to figure that out.
I believe that would be looking in every nook and cranny.
That is too many nooks and crannies for me. So I don't understand, given how it performs now and all these other things, I just don't understand how it's going to save time. And we're not talking about the use of AI like, hey, create an email for me or give me some feedback on the plans I have for vacation. We're talking about patient records. We're talking about healthcare. There's no room for error.
And we know that this information is coming from a ton of different systems. You got the legacy systems, and then you've got, the old EHR parts that are scanned in, and then you got things that might be coming in from connected devices, the EKG, the blood pressure monitor, whatever it is that's connected to people, the heart monitors that you have to, carry around in your little gown or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But all this data is coming in from a variety of locations in a variety of formats,
Mm-hmm.
which is part of the problem. We know that.
Yep.
It's part of the problem. But that's the old data. And even if we fixed it today, you can't fix the old data.
Nope.
So I have a great deal of concern about, I get it. And yes, this is the ultimate way. But I'm like you, how can you confirm it?
Yeah. And right now we're just talking about chatting with the medical record. But what happens when it starts editing the medical record?
Mm.
I mean, I'm sure at some point they'll figure all of it out. But for right now, I have my concerns.
Yeah, it's like, even with our little, we have Ask Murphy in Garden Club, right? We got Ask Murphy in there, and it's trained on our data. And there are times where it'll argue and say it doesn't have that information. Yes, yes, you do. Here's what it's called, and it'll be like, nope, I don't have it. Yeah, you do. I don't have it. So then I have to go in there and manually override in the app that is kind of the front end app that I'm controlling what it's doing with ChatGPT. And I have to go in there and force it to know things that I know it knows. So who's going to be doing that work? How are you going to find it? Who's going to be doing that work? And that's my big concern. And so much patient safety issue here.
Mm-hmm.
And I I am 100% behind the value, but it's how are we going to make sure that patients shortcuts are going to impact patient safety? I just don't know.
Yeah. Well, from the standpoint of using this, and even the previous topic, if you're going to be using the Microsoft AI thing to change the settings, all these things have to go through a risk assessment process.
hmm Speaking of,
Yeah. Speaking
yeah.
of, let's talk about risk assessments because that is my favorite thing to talk about.
Well, at least this is a good conversation. So we've had all the other crap, but this is a way that we could work to get everybody to understand and cooperate with doing our risk assessments.
Hmm.
And we've often talked about the fact that all businesses need to be doing it, and we as humans often do it, and we do that in the boot camp session on doing SRAs. We start with the most basic concept of we do risk analysis all the time for a lot of reasons. So
Hmm.
let's start here. So we use this tool. It's an app that we use, or a plugin rather, in Cardin Club that does the calendar management. It's called the Events Calendar, and it does a lot of other stuff. Super powerful thing. We just use a tiny little piece of it, but it's very good, and that's why I get it in my inbox. And usually it's, hey, we added this cool new thing. But this one was called Event Risk Management, a Straightforward Guide.
Hmm.
And I said, huh, just like things that make you say, hmm, let me go look at that. And it was really, really cool because, I mean, it wasn't trying to make an analogy like we would be doing with this, and it's really not one. It's saying, look, this is not just an IT thing. This is, we use it all the time and make it more relatable. And everybody's got some event they've had to be involved in. It's a concert and getting, herding the cats to get all your kids to go somewhere, or, getting your friends to get together at the same time, a family reunion, a business conference, or a wedding. That's one that everybody does.
Hmm.
And you always, I just was at my nephew's wedding, and it was a beautiful wedding, and the weather was iffy right up until the moment that we started the ceremony. And you had to have the rain plan, you had to have the this plan, you had all of that. And that made me think about it when I was reading this. And here was the opening that I was like, I wonder if we could use this to step people through a concept. And it says, here's the essential risk categories every event planner must address. That's good. And it comes with its own, every event comes with its own set of risk, but there are a few common areas that all planners should pay attention to. No matter the size or type of an event, identifying these early can help you avoid problems, protect your team and attendees, and keep your event running smoothly. Now, tweak a few words, and we're talking about doing an SRA
Hmm. Yeah.
for a medical practice, right?
Yep.
I mean, we're just changing a few words to be the appropriate word for another environment.
I'm wondering if the person who wrote this came out of healthcare and they got a job as an event planner.
I know. Well, we know somebody that did that, and then, anyway, we know our event planner people. And these are absolutely what you have to do. If you think about this, so they have categories: loss of crowd control, medical emergencies, unpredictable weather, transport and traffic management, food safety, staff and volunteer safety, and technological breakdowns.
Yeah.
I mean, all of those are things you got to worry about, you know? Just if you're trying to organize any kind of event. And it was really cool that you could take every one of those and also associate those with what we do in our cybersecurity SRAs. But then I love that they were like, okay, here are the key steps you should follow to build your risk management plan. And they had little details in each of them. And in each of them, they'd say, these are the things you could consider. And here's some mitigation. Wait a minute. Sounds like stuff we do. And it says, number one, assess all potential risk at your venue.
You mean assessing the risk of the potential vulnerabilities to your venue?
Mhm. Walk around your venue where your event is going to be, thinking about how it is, including all the stakeholders, evaluating it, all the things that are going to be happening, And it says, consider high probability risk like delayed vendors and high impact risk like a medical emergency or fire. Cover every angle so there are no surprises on event day.
Yep.
Wow. 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 Create a risk management team.
Get out
How
of
many
here.
times? Can you believe they would suggest that? And hold a few planning sessions before the event so everyone is aligned. Each team member should be trained in basic emergency response protocols and how to escalate issues quickly if needed.
So they're doing
Really?
tabletop exercises.
Yeah,
Shut the front door.
I know.
If an event planner is more prepared than a medical office, that's sad.
That's right. I'm spending more time making sure the wedding goes okay than my cybersecurity that's running my business
I
and
know.
keeping people safe.
That's crazy.
I know. Then categorize and prioritize risk according to likelihood and severity.
Wow.
Duh. Once you've listed all potential risks, the next step is to organize them based on how likely they are to happen and how severe the impact would be if they did. And then use a risk assessment matrix to classify each risk based on likelihood and impact.
Wow.
Then prepare a contingency plan for risk mitigation. A contingency plan is your safety net. It lays out what to do if something doesn't go according to plan and how to minimize the impact on your event.
Like a business continuity plan almost.
I know. And then post-event analysis of risk management strategies.
No.
Your job doesn't end when the event does. After everything wraps up, take the time to review how your risk management plan worked in practice.
No, you made that up.
I mean, straight out of the art. And I'm reading that like, at first I'm just going to go, let me see what they're saying. And the further I got through it, the more I was like, OMG.
Yeah.
It's like I'm reading this exactly the way that we do it. And their final little checklist. Here's your quick checklist for a risk-ready event. Have you done your risk assessment? Is your crowd management plan in place? Do you have emergency medical services coordinated? Do you have a contingency plan? Are your staff and volunteers trained? Training. It even includes training. Do you have a communication strategy ready so that you can make all the different parts talk to each other? Oh, and do you have insurance coverage?
Huh. Wow.
At that point, I'm like, well, we don't even need to teach it. Let's just send them this.
Yeah.
And just say you plug in the stuff that works in your office to this. It was spectacular.
Just treat every day like an event. You'll be good.
It's a wedding every day. It's a different party. It's a family reunion. Or what is the comedian used to tell this joke? He's like, yeah, I go to my family. It's my family reunions are where everyone shows up. They bring a covered dish and an unresolved issue.
That's true. That's very true.
But again, that would be part of your risk management.
Yeah, that is absolutely the case. So I know every time we have something, it's usually like, how quickly can things go sideways? In some cases, I'm like, let's quit belaboring the point. Let me just go ahead and push the whole cart sideways.
Because you just want to get it over with.
Let's just get this over with. The stress of wondering when it's going to happen is killing me. Let's just go ahead and do it.
Anticipation matters not.
I know, dude. I'm going to take this thing and send it to some event centers that I know of that we have around. This is great. I mean, really.
I know. This is awesome. I need to send them a note saying how impressive it is and how spot on.
Yeah,
it is.
Well, the other thing too is like
thorough.
I would show it to leadership and say, you can't possibly tell me that this process is so hard for us to do, and yet an event planner is supposed to do the same process.
Yeah. The only difference is the data that we're looking at.
Yep.
It's the environment we're working with. We have technology to deal with, but hello, technology was part of their problem too.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
I was so impressed and just blown away by it. But it certainly wasn't something we could spend a whole episode on. And I was trying to figure out what other things, what to put it with. And then you just started sending me stuff. So boom, 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 boom. I'd found a couple already, and then boom, 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 boom.
Well,
it all worked together.
The thing that I'll say about this is what you get when you have somebody that looks at everything from a risk management perspective. We often talk about you can look at your practice or your organization, and you can look at it from a compliance management perspective, or you can look at it from a risk management perspective. It is very, very different. The outcomes are very, very different. You and I approach everything from a risk management perspective, not a compliance perspective, which is why the outcomes we get are so much better than those who do the compliance side. But this is it. This is what you get when somebody from risk management says, let me do a straightforward guide on how to make sure your event goes off without a hitch.
Yeah. And I mean, these are the folks that are writing software to run these things on, and they do a ton of different parts of the application. But I don't know who wrote the blog article, because it doesn't give a specific author. But I think I will reach out to them and tell them how much I appreciate what they've done there, because, if there are event people that aren't doing it, they need to do it, and it should make sense. When we used to run the event company, that was Carla's gig, and I give her a hard time because she had her list down to, these people arrive at this time, and if this happens, and then we know who, and this is the plan for this, and, rain plans and insurance. And it was all of this she would go through. But I never hooked the two together. Never. Never hooked the two together until this. And it's so important. And, and hers, she would have such a detailed plan of work, and I'd be like, do we get to take a shower that day?
No.
And she looks at me like, you're just being ridiculous.
That's funny.
Yeah. So, just throw some food at you as she runs by, and that's how she rolls. But and she's still that way. The folks that have compliance coaching with her, what was it? One of them said, Carla don't play.
Nope.
So
I heard one of them say one time, like, when I get on the call with Carla, I'm scared. I don't want to tell her. I don't want to tell her I hadn't done the homework.
Yeah. She's always got this disapproving attitude, even though she's like, it's okay. But you can see it in her eyes. She's so upset and disappointed. Now we're going to be in trouble for this episode.
Well, so that brings us to our very last thing, which is the HHS has announced that there is a new director for OCR. We've had the acting director for a while now, and I guess they got tired of us butchering his name, and so they appointed somebody as the director instead of the acting director. So they have appointed Paula, either, I don't know, is it Stannard or Stannard? Again, we got some name we're not 100% sure how to pronounce.
And we don't know.
Yeah. So I did reach out to her. I did reach out, and if she replies, I'll ask for the pronunciation. But as of this recording, she has not replied.
Yeah, like you did that. All right. So
I did do that.
Did you?
Yeah.
You say welcome. Thank you.
No, I just sent her a connection on LinkedIn. So we'll see.
Okay.
And when I announced this on LinkedIn, I mentioned her. So there you go.
Oh, you're trying.
So
You're
she
trying
probably
to
is
get
like,
us in
who's
good
this? Who's this
graces.
stalker?
Yeah, and everybody that's already there, they're like, just don't respond.
Yeah.
We know who he is.
Yeah. Stay away. Stay far away. That's okay.
But she has a background in public policy and health law. So, that might signal that we're going to start getting back to regulatory activity that is, ongoing. I mean, they've been doing plenty of settlements lately, just turning them over one after another. So we're going to see, but now we'll probably see all of that sit for a bit while, go in and I mean, anybody would have to go in and get their hands around where it is right now. There's so many people gone, and you don't even know who's doing what. All the people that have been doing things for years, they're gone. And now you've got to figure that out along with figuring out how you want to operate the office. So hopefully it'll turn around quickly and we can start to see something. But I would assume that we're going to see discussions about making changes to the security rule are going to start back up. At least I'm anticipating it. Somehow those cybersecurity things are going to come back up because there's just too much conversation about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if they don't come up from the good guys' side, they'll come up from the bad guys' side. Right. and they'll force the issue. So
yeah,
it's not going away. It'll either get better or worse. It will not stay the same. That's my prediction for 2025.
He's spot on. Guaranteed to be right.
Yep, there you go. All right, folks. That is our show for today. Thanks for listening. Be sure to join us again next week. And remember, for Donna and myself, that HIPAA is not about compliance. It's about patient care.
You've been listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, hosted by Donna Grindle and David Sims. The show created to help you with HIPAA. For more information or to ask us a question, visit our website at helpmewithhipaa.com. Neither Donna Grindle or David Sims are attorneys, and they do not offer binding legal advice concerning regulatory compliance. The information in this podcast should not be relied upon or construed as legal advice in any way. Consult your attorney for legal advice concerning compliance with HIPAA regulations.